All right, good morning, everybody. Sorry to the people that were in the waiting room and then it booted you out. I was still with students from Algebra 2, and there's no way to continue the session and make the video, the recording of the class session for Algebra 2, if I continue it. So I had to end it and come back. So I apologize for kicking you guys out. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you what's on your plate for the week. Let's take a look. Where are we at? Here we are. 3.1 through 3.7. So 5.3 medians and altitudes. If you hadn't had an opportunity to look at this, please make sure that you set aside the next 40 minutes or so to tackle this material and start looking at it. Just like I've said before, and I actually, when I recorded next week's video as well, next week's video is not terribly demanding either. And I kind of referenced this a week or so ago with Algebra 2. They're going through something right now where you're multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting multiple fractions divided by multiple fractions. So that's stressful. Even just hearing about it stresses me out, right? And I know how to do it. So I can understand how they can get super stressed with a skill like that. With the ones that we've been looking at so far in Unit 5, those, and I'm hoping everybody can share what I'm trying to, or can understand what I'm trying to say. They're not super demanding. If you haven't had time to look at this stuff, make sure you do. Don't feel like you're too far behind, because really, I say, if you looked out over 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 today, if you haven't looked over anything, and you just spent a couple hours or so with it today, you'd be like, oh, that makes sense. That's not bad, right? So please make sure that you're staying on top of this stuff. It just makes it easier in the end. I've got a student that has not been doing that wants to retest a test, and they haven't learned anything throughout the entire unit. And you could imagine how stressful that would be to not look at anything for over a month, and now all of a sudden you're studying for a test that you know nothing about, right? So stay on top of this stuff, chip away at it each week, just kind of keep it familiar. And that way the test will go super smooth for you that week. Medians and altitudes, again, not a super demanding concept to learn. The hard things are just making sure you know what information is coming from a median, what information is coming to an altitude, as well as the vocab that deals with both of those. So the interactive textbook is there with the pages and the PDF link and all that kind of stuff. Practice problems, make sure you're doing these, right? Practice makes perfect, and have that solutions manual open as you're doing those practice problems. Extra practice if you need it, feel free to check that out and just see what other problems you can do. And then the 2 assignments that are due Sunday by 11:59 p.m. Are going to be the vocab and concepts in the check-in. Make sure you have the textbook out for these vocab and concepts. That's super important. That'll help you out a ton with doing those problems. Next week's stuff also unlocked as of today. The interactive textbook, all this stuff is the same, right? Vocab and concepts in the check-in. Both these are due on Sunday the 14th, right? And then I think I forgot to mention in this week's material, don't forget the video tutorial is there. So if you need some help, if you want to watch basically a lesson, make sure you watch that video. And the same thing with next week's material as well. It's got a video tutorial. I screwed up and I think I clicked I think I clicked pause because my dog was barking or something, and I accidentally clicked stop. And so it made it a part 2. It's not because these things were super long. They're not really. I think both of them together might be I'm guessing 40 minutes. I don't remember exactly, but it's not a terribly long lesson. It was just split because I accidentally pressed stop instead of pause. So I think we talked about this the other day, but just kind of knowing what's coming up, right? This is next week's material that if you have an opportunity before next week to get on top of it, you're more than welcome to. And then we have one more lesson and then our test. So that's what's coming up for us. I'm going to let the late people in. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Well, like always, I'm going to hang back and talk with people, work through problems, whatever. If you're good to go, make sure you spend the next 40 minutes on math, right? This is math class. So spend the next 40 minutes looking through the material, watching my tutorial video, practicing the problems, all that kind of stuff. If you need something just shoot me an email and I'd be happy to respond. I hope you have an awesome weekend and we'll see you next Monday. Bye.
So I actually have a question
Yeah.
about